I did not think I was in labor. I might have said to Alex, like, oh my God, like what if we have the baby and nobody's here? So it has been a while because I had my baby. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber, and today I am going to be sharing with you my positive, unmedicated home birth story. That is a mouthful. But yeah, if you have been around here and following along, then you know that I was pregnant. In the last video that I filmed, I said that if I disappear for a little bit, it's probably because I had a baby, and that's exactly what happened. And actually, spoiler, the day that I filmed that last video, and I'll link it up here or here, whatever side, I'll link it so you can check that out if you want. The day that I filmed that video was the day that I went into labor. So I'm really excited to be sharing this because I feel like there cannot be enough birth stories like out in the world, whether they're positive or kind of traumatic, because if they're positive, then, you know, I think that it really helps kind of dissipate the fear, the cloud of fear that is surrounding birth and labor and birth for a lot of people right now. It's a very natural process, and I have to say, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I really feel like if I can do it, then like pretty much most people can do it. If you hear some sounds in the background, that is my cat, so just, it's fine. Okay, so to preface all of this, I decided that I wanted a home birth, I think like early in the second trimester. I definitely had some concerns initially. It was something that like was on my heart for years before I even like got pregnant. Like more and more I was seeing women having home births. So that was already kind of in my head and on my heart that I maybe wanted to do it that way. But I absolutely had some fears and concerns, you know, one being like, what if I can't do it? You know, like what if I don't have the willpower to do it without medication to give birth, I mean? And then of course, like, is it safe? That's a big one, of course, because, you know, if you're at home, then if something goes wrong, then you might need to go to the hospital. Then just like how equipped are midwives to deal with certain medical concerns. But like I said, in the beginning of my second trimester, I wasn't really happy with the care that I was getting from my OB. So that really started to like seal the deal that I was leaning more towards wanting a midwife. So I started interviewing midwives. When I met and interviewed the midwife that I decided to use, it made it a really easy decision. So I learned that midwives are actually really equipped to handle a lot of emergencies. Like they bring a lot of their own medical supplies. And also, ideally, when you hire a midwife, you want to know that they're not looking for like red flags as far as like situations that could end up being an emergency. Like you want a midwife that is looking for yellow flags. And that's how my midwife explained it to me. Like they're not gonna wait until you need to go to the hospital right now to suggest that you need to go to the hospital. Like they're going to be looking for things that might look iffy and suggest that you need to go to the hospital to be like on the safe side instead of waiting until it's already an emergency, basically. That made me feel a lot better. And then as far as, you know, whether or not I could do it, that was something that I just had to, I guess, like affirm to myself that I could. So I definitely read and watched, listened to a lot of positive birth stories. And every time that I got like a limiting belief in my head that I couldn't do it, or what if I can't do it, I just would try to remind myself, one, that my body is made to do this, and two, that if these other women can do it, then I can too. And that women have been doing this for ever since the beginning of time, and you know, most of which without medication. So okay, that's my little spiel about why I decided I wanted a home birth. And it also helps for us that we have a hospital like less than 5 minutes away, so that also really made me feel better. Okay, taking you guys a few days back before I had my son Kai, I had a boy, I guess I'll just tell you that now. We weren't sure of the gender, but we did end up having a little boy. So I had him on Wednesday, but taking you guys back to the Friday before I had him, I felt fine. I did an evening primrose oil suppository for the first time, and that's basically where you just like poke a little hole in an evening primrose oil capsule and you just like, you know, not orally. You can take it orally too, but I was not doing that. And that's basically just supposed to like help like ripen your cervix. I've also read that it can help like kickstart labor. I was 39 weeks when I actually went into labor. So the following week was 39 weeks. I was not trying to kickstart labor. I was just trying to, you know, ripen my cervix. But I just wanted to give it a go. Saturday, I went to the chiropractor. Sunday night, this is where things started to happen. I did another evening primrose oil suppository. So this was the second time. Oh, and you know what? I should mention that Friday when I did the very first suppository, I did end up getting period-like cramps. They weren't that bad, but I was getting kind of crampy. And so that was why Saturday night I did not do the suppository. And I told Alex I'll try it one more time. And if I get cramps again, then I'll probably just stop doing it. So Sunday night, I did a second suppository and I did end up waking up. I think it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I woke up and I did have period-like cramps again, but they weren't bad. Like they were really, really manageable. Like I was able to relax with them. I was able to basically go back to bed with them. And then I woke up a couple hours later. So it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. I went to the bathroom. There was like a little bit of light pink blood when I wiped. I did start to get like really light contractions. At the time, I wasn't 100% sure that if they were contractions or not. They definitely felt different from the period-like cramps. But I thought like maybe it's just like Braxton Hicks or something like that. I wasn't sure if it was labor, but they were lasting about 1 minute and they were coming 10 to 15 minutes apart. And I did notice that when they came on, they were manageable, but like I definitely needed to use my breath to kind of like relax through them. Then Monday, so I guess when I say Sunday night, it technically was like early Monday morning. So Monday morning, I was bleeding every single time I went to the restroom, and it did end up turning bright red, and there was like a little bit of discharge, but it was only when I peed. Like when I was just going about doing my regular business, I wasn't bleeding and I didn't need to use a pad. So I'm assuming that was what they call bloody show. There's just like some weird names for like the labor terms, like bloody show. I let my doula know what was going on, and I told her, I think like maybe I'm in labor, and I explained to her what was going on, and she told me, yeah, it sounds like your body might be gearing up for labor. So she told me like, try to get up, try to eat something, maybe take a walk. So I did end up getting up, and initially I remember thinking, and I ended up telling her this, that walking and standing definitely made the contractions worse. And she told me it definitely sounds like maybe you're going into labor. So she still said like maybe try to take a walk, and then like other than that, just try to rest as much as you can. And I primarily was communicating with my doula during this whole time because she knows my midwife. So I was communicating with her, and then she would be like relaying the information to my midwife. And then if my midwife had any questions, then she would just call or text me directly. What ended up happening though on Monday is around 1 o'clock, the contractions started tapering off. So instead of coming 10 to 15 minutes apart, they started spacing out, like more like 40 minutes apart and then an hour apart. So at that point, I really wasn't sure anything was going on. Of course, I let my doula know, my midwife know. So they said it might be, what's it called? Prodromal labor, that's what it is. I can't remember who told me this, but one of them said like, don't get discouraged. Everything that your body is doing is gearing up to make this happen. So don't get discouraged that like it's not happening fast enough. At 8 p.m., they started coming a little bit closer together again, like 15 to 20 minutes. I spoke with my doula and my midwife, and my doula recommended that maybe I take a Tylenol PM or a Benadryl to help me get some sleep. And then I spoke with my midwife, and she said she didn't think that it was labor just yet. She said that like it's pretty common for things to pick up at night and then like slow down during the day. So she also said go ahead and take a Tylenol PM so that you can get some sleep. So I just took one because my body is definitely very sensitive to medications. I like really need to use my notes because I do not remember. I mean, I remember, but a lot of these details are like super fuzzy. Monday night, I did end up sleeping most of the night, but then I woke up early Tuesday morning to more contractions lasting a little bit longer, but I was like so drowsy from the Tylenol PM that in between the contractions, I would just like fall right back asleep, and then I would wake up to one coming on. Once I got up and like got going and all of that, then they pretty much like kicked out. What does that even mean? Okay, well they stopped. That's what I'm trying to say. So again, I wasn't sure if anything was happening or if this was just more prodromal labor. All of Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon, I think I only had like 2 or 3 contractions, and they weren't very long until about 3 o'clock. I wrote down that I felt like some kind of intense pressure down there, especially when using the bathroom. I filmed my last pregnancy update, and that's the video that I linked before. I talked to my sister. I was just kind of going about the day like normal. I ended up taking another Tylenol PM, again, just one that night. And this is no one's fault because like no one could have predicted what was about to happen. But, you know, we all thought that this was just prodromal labor. We all thought that what was going to happen was this kind of like on and off, you know, like labor signs and symptoms, and then like a couple days would go by and then I would start labor. So my midwife and my doula were like just trying to help me get as much rest as I could until labor actually started. So they recommended that I go ahead and take another Tylenol PM so that I could sleep through the night. In hindsight, I kind of regret doing that, but I did go ahead and do that. And at 10 p.m. Tuesday night, contractions became more intense. So I definitely was breathing and moaning through them. I was telling myself affirmations. So the breathing technique I was using was mostly like inhale for 4, exhale for 6. And doing that really, really helped. Like just, I guess, counting the breathing, like counting helped me keep my mind a little bit off of the sensation. And then of course the breathing helps your body to relax. Moaning is super helpful. I'm pretty vocal anyway. Like even when I'm sick, I tend to just be like, oh. So I already kind of anticipated that I was gonna be pretty vocal in labor, and I definitely was. And then I was affirming to myself just about every time that a contraction came on or it was like feeling really intense, I would tell myself like, this is good. This is a good thing. Like you want this to happen. And then I was moving a lot. Like I would be laying on the bed and then I would get up and be on my hands and knees. And then I would use the birth ball and like have my upper body resting on that. And then I would go to the bathroom. So lots of movement. Here is the crazy thing, you guys. And in hindsight, I don't know what I was thinking. I did not think I was in labor. I still thought that this was prodromal labor. So I told Alex, like, just go and try to like get some sleep on the couch or something. And he would come in and check on me and ask me like, do you need anything? And I kept like sending him away and telling him like, no, there's nothing you can do. It's fine. And a couple of times I did time the contractions, but the thing that they tell you is longer, stronger, and closer together. And the contractions were definitely getting like slightly more intense, but they weren't necessarily getting consistently longer. Like I would have a contraction for 3 minutes, but then a couple contractions later, I would have it for like 30 seconds or 1 minute. And same thing with the time in between. It would be like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. So there wasn't a lot of consistency. So that is also partly why I didn't think I was in labor, because it wasn't following that pattern that everybody preaches. So I was keeping my doula updated. She said, let me know if you want me to come. And I was like, no, I don't think you need to. Like, I don't think this is it. And on top of that, I had built labor up like in my head to be so bad. I just kept thinking to myself, when labor actually starts, man, it's gonna really suck because this is already pretty intense. So here I was laboring in my bedroom at night and had no clue that that's what was going on. I really thought all of this was prodromal labor. So I was like hardcore in denial. In hindsight though, I'm really happy that it happened the way I did, because all the lights were off. It was really quiet. I really did a lot of the laboring by myself because since I didn't think I was in labor, I kept telling Alex, like, no, just go rest. It's fine. Just like go back to the couch. It's okay, which is pretty like me. Like when I'm in pain, I tend to kind of like retreat naturally to be by myself. But yeah, most of it was spent in my bedroom, on the floor or in the bathroom, and my cat was with me for more of it than anybody else. And at one point I asked Alex to bring me a blanket because when the contractions came on, I felt really hot. So I was like ripping all my clothes off. But then once it would subside, I felt really cold. So then I didn't want to like keep putting my clothes on and taking them off. So I just asked him to bring me a blanket, which June my cat, she ended up commandeering. So I like barely even used the blanket. At 2 a.m., I did end up calling my doula just because nothing was slowing down. Like this was the longest I had gone with consistent contractions. Like I said, they still were not following the pattern that they tell you is indicative of labor. So she said to try to like lay down and rest in between them, which I did. And that was just like a hard no. Every single time I laid down on the bed during a contraction, like it just felt so much more intense and way less manageable than if I was like sitting on the toilet, which they call like the dilation station, or on my hands and knees or something like that. Like I felt like I needed to be able to like move and sway through the contraction. Again though, like I still didn't think that this was it. Like I said, hardcore denial. So at 5 a.m., my doula checked in and asked what was going on, and she said if I felt pressure, and I explained, this is like TMI, I explained to her that I did feel some pressure like in my butt, but I didn't feel the need to push. So she said she was gonna go ahead and like head over just in case. So I was like, okay. So 10 a.m. is when everything started. 5 a.m. she's telling me I'm probably just gonna go ahead and head over. It was almost right after she said she was gonna head over that I realized what was going on, because transition started. And I freaked out because that was when, oh, bless you. That was when I realized what was going on, because it got very intense. I had felt pretty in control for most of the laboring process up until that point. And I think that's why I didn't feel the need to call anyone to come, because I felt like I got this. And if I'm in labor, I'm not gonna like have it. But transition started. It got very intense. At that point, Alex came and was supporting me, and he was like letting me kind of like hang on his neck and was trying to remind me to breathe. I remember him telling me breathe, and me like, I can't. But I really got scared when I started feeling like really intense pressure down there, like really intense. And it happened while I went to sit on the toilet, not to go to the bathroom or anything. It just felt like the place to be. So I sat on the toilet. Alex was there with me. I was hanging on his neck and I like really felt Kai's head like pushing down. I don't know if I thought this or if I actually said this, but I might have said to Alex, like, oh my God, like, what if we have the baby and nobody's here? At that point, I realized he was coming and I realized, like, it's probably going to be soon. So I was, like, really scared. Fluid did start coming out at that point. It wasn't like a big gush. I never felt my water break. I know some people say that they feel like a pop and then the water just like, whew. That didn't happen. It just kind of started like every here and there leaking out. So closer to 6 o'clock, probably like 5:45 or 5:50, I like came from the bathroom. I laid on the floor. Alex got like a towel so I could lay down on the floor, and I had my knee propped up, like my top leg was like bent and propped up on a pillow. And yeah, fluid was just like kind of slowly trickling out. My doula came at 6 a.m. and she had already told my midwife. So my midwife was already on the way because she was constantly telling my midwife what was going on. So she got here at 6 a.m. When she came in, I told her, I feel like I'm being a big baby. And she like looks back at, you know, my sector where the baby was coming, and she goes, no, I think you're about to have a baby, Amber. My midwife got here 10 minutes later, so like 6:10ish, and at that point my doula had helped me get onto my bed. My midwife comes and she asks me like, can I check you? And I told her like, give me just a second, because I was having a contraction. And once the contraction was over, I said, okay, go ahead. You know, we flipped me onto my back. And she puts her finger in and she's like, oh, Amber, the baby's head is right there. And she said, I couldn't even put my full finger in there. Like it was only going up to the first knuckle. And she said, you know, you're probably like ready to push. And I definitely was having those urges, and I told them that, and I did tell them like I'm afraid to tear.
I'm afraid of tearing.
Don't be afraid of anything.
Through that.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to help you as much as you can, and your body's smart and is going to do exactly what it needs to do.
And that's why I was afraid to push. And so they were reassuring me like, don't be afraid, like it's okay, just like if you feel the urge to push, then go ahead and go with that. I did pretty much start to push like a few minutes after my midwife got here and checked me. I pushed for about 50 minutes. And you know, pushing was surprisingly not that bad. I mean, it's intense. It's definitely intense. But what shocked me was that in between the contractions where I would push, I felt fine. Even as he was crowning, like it was a weird feeling, like you could feel his head down there, or I could feel his head down there, but I felt okay.
And
it's crazy how I feel okay right now, but then once it starts, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
But you're not. No.
And then obviously, like, you know, while I was pushing, I definitely was like pretty vocal, you know, and I don't think I like screamed, but I definitely was like, ah! Like it got kind of loud, because I mean, it's hard. You have to push really hard. And I should say I did end up pushing on my back with like my knees to my chest. They asked me at one point if I wanted to get on my hands and knees, but I was so exhausted. And I meant to mention that I was really tired because I mean, it was already happened. This whole thing was happening at night. And on top of that, I had taken the Tylenol PM. So I was really tired. And I remember during labor, when I didn't think I was in labor, I remember thinking to myself, not that I wanted to go to the hospital. I actually was really proud of myself because not once did I think or ask to go to the hospital or think like I want to go to the hospital. But I remember thinking, I understand why people want to go to the hospital and get the epidural, because I was just so tired. Like I just wanted to take a nap during labor. And I knew like if you get the epidural, you're probably going to be able to get like a good amount of sleep before you actually have to push. But it didn't cross my mind once to go or want to go myself, especially because like once I was in it, I was in it. And so I just there was not even a thought of like packing up our stuff and then walking down the hallway, walking to the car, sitting in the car, going to the hospital, even though it's right down the street. Like doing all of that through those contractions just was like, Like if it's an emergency, that's one thing, but I was just so much more comfortable in my home. So that didn't even cross my mind. At 7:10, Kai was born. I should note that I did mention multiple times while pushing that I was afraid of tearing. And I'm actually really glad that I vocalized that, because my doula and my midwife were able to reassure me, and I feel like it's better to kind of like get that fear out, to release it instead of like holding it in. And then also because maybe not because, but my midwife did end up like getting some oil. I don't know what she did with the oil, but she got some oil, I guess, to help like lubricate things down there. And then she got a warm washcloth to like help stretch my perineum. So that maybe helped things like stretch out a little bit. And then I also think the fact that I was taking breaks, like pretty decent breaks in between contractions. I was like just hanging out for 1 to 3 minutes doing nothing. So I think that kind of helped the tissues down there stretch out before I would start pushing again. And I also asked them a couple times, like, is this the ring of fire? And then I'd push, and then I'd be like, is this the ring of fire? I don't actually remember feeling a distinct ring of fire.
When will I feel this ring of fire?
When the crown.
Oh. So not yet.
No, but soon. So don't let it scare you.
Yeah, I don't remember feeling anything like that. Like I said, there definitely were periods of time where I was like, oh, like it hurts. But there wasn't a point where I was like, oh yeah, that's the ring of fire. So anyway, yeah, once I pushed his head out, then I just gave like a few more pretty hard pushes. His shoulders came out, and then he just like, bleh, and it's crazy. Like the relief once the baby just like comes all the way out is crazy. And what's even crazier is like how fine I felt right after he came out. Like really, I like felt fine, you know, maybe like a little sore down there, but I didn't feel like, oh my God, like it hurts so bad. So that was very nice. And yeah, they put him right on my chest, and they asked me if I saw, you know, what he was coming out, because we didn't know. And Alex said he had seen, I didn't. So I lifted him up and saw that he was a boy, and I was like, I knew it, which I really did. Towards the end of the pregnancy, I was more and more feeling like it was going to be a boy, and he was. So that was exciting. And it's just crazy, like the feeling of putting your baby on your chest. Oh my gosh, it is insane. And pretty much right when he popped out, this is kind of out of order here, whatever. Right when he popped out, he started crying right away. So that was super reassuring.
Push nice, strong, more. Yeah. There you go, love. There you go, love. There you go, love. There you go, love. They're almost out, lovey. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. You got it, baby. You got it. You got it, lovey. You got it. Do it. That's the threshold. There you go. There you go. It's okay. It's okay. Baby, it's fine. It's fine. Go through the
Finish pushing.
I know. Keep pushing.
You want to reach
There
down?
you go. There you go, baby.
You want to get your baby?
You got it, love.
Right there.
You got it, baby. You got it. You got it. Oh, little baby. Keep pushing.
Push for the shoulders.
Push, lovey. Push, Push. Look at me, love.
Come on, Mama.
Push, Liv. Push. Push. You got it. You got it, love. There you go. There you go, lovey. Look at that thing. Oh. Oh.
Amber.
Look at that.
Yeah, and so like I said, they put him on my chest, and oh my gosh, just his little, I'm like getting emotional. Just seeing like his little face was so special. And we did leave the cord intact, and we waited, I think, like 20 minutes or so. We waited 20 minutes, and then I started feeling small, like crampy kind of contractions again. Pushed out the placenta. That was like the easiest thing. That was like nothing. They just waited until the cord started or stopped pulsing, and then Alex cut the cord. They asked if I wanted to see the placenta, which I did, and they told me it was like very small. It didn't look small. It looked like pretty good size, but it was crazy to see. I mean, in my opinion, how big it was. They said it was kind of small, but it's crazy that like that thing was just in there, and like that was the organ that was sustaining Kai for 9 months. So saw the placenta, and then shortly after that, my doula and my midwife were like, okay, well, do you want to try breastfeeding? So they helped me with that. That was intense and special at the same time. Oh, and then I think it was after that they asked Alex to take his shirt off so that he could do skin to skin with Kai. So yeah, I mean, and then it was great. Like, I am so happy we chose a home birth, because it just felt so good to be able to just, you know, lay in my bed right after everything happened. And, you know, my team basically started like cleaning everything up. They made me a snack. They got me water. They like helped me up so that I could go pee for the first time, helped me put on the little diaper thing that you wear. It was just really nice. And then, you know, they made sure Kai was okay and all of that. I did not end up using the combs that I had purchased. I purchased those like wooden combs that you're supposed to like squeeze during contractions. Totally forgot about those during labor. It ended up, I feel like, being a very like primal experience. Like, it was just kind of like me in my dark room, and I used the ball. That was it. Didn't get in the bath or the shower or the birthing pool. You know, by the time that my team got here, there was definitely no time to set up the birthing pool. The biggest concern I had looking back is like, what if things weren't progressing the way that they should? And I would have had no idea. It ended up being very low stress. And I honestly, I don't know that I would have liked being surrounded by other people. I don't know. Like I said, I kind of am just someone that likes to like be alone when I'm uncomfortable or in pain. And so I thought that I was going to want, you know, my doula and midwives there to like use counter pressure or to tell me like, try this position, try this position. But what ended up happening is that my body and my, you know, I instinctively just knew what to do, I guess. I mean, I definitely think for safety reasons, next time I will probably alert my team a lot sooner. And it would be interesting to see how things go with people there that could tell you to try different techniques and positions. So who knows, maybe next time, I don't know, if there is a next time, hopefully there is. Next time, maybe that'll help it go smoother. I don't know. Other than that, I'm just really, really happy that we decided to do it at home, because the whole experience just felt like so empowering, and it just felt so special to bring this little miracle into the world in like the most primal, natural way possible. So hopefully this story is encouraging to you other mamas that maybe want to do an unmedicated or a home birth. I definitely feel like if I can do it, then you can do it, because I wouldn't say that I have like an outrageously high pain tolerance or anything like that. I think once you are in it, you're just in it. And I do feel like doing it at home, for me at least, made a big difference, because even though of course it's totally possible to have an unmedicated birth in the hospital, I wonder if I was in the hospital if I would have chosen to get an epidural, only because it's right there. But being in my home, I knew it's just a different mindset. I knew that there was nothing, that I just had to find a way to cope with the discomfort. I do feel like for me that was the right choice, but to each their own. So it was a really great experience. It was so special, and it genuinely left me excited to give birth again. Oh, I should say also, I did not tear at all. So that was very, very nice. I didn't think that labor and birth were all that bad. Definitely intense, but I don't feel like that is the worst pain that one could ever go through. I don't know, that's just my opinion, but like I said, I had built it up so much in my head that when it was happening, I was like, oh, this can't be it. Like, it has to be worse, until I was in transition. Then I was like, oh no, this is it. That is my positive, unmedicated home birth story. I hope that that is helpful and encouraging to you if you are pregnant or about to go into labor. If you have any questions down below, let me know. I would love to answer anything for you. I am now 14 weeks postpartum, so it's taken me a little bit to like adjust to motherhood and to get back into the swing of things, but I'm going to try to start, uploading content regularly again. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you like motherhood and lifestyle type videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, inspiring, or encouraging, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.